And good morning. Welcome to Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. Maybe welcoming you a little late or early based on how you're receiving this broadcast. But welcome to Things You Might Not Have Heard, where we're going to bring you yesterday's latest in information in politics and current events and pop culture. We are your go-to source for some unconventional stories mainstream media may have overlooked. So you're going to get a bunch of those piled into today's headlines, including that, plus some things that are pretty actually kind of important. Like make sure you get some of the good stuff along with some of the good stuff, if you will. We call yourself your new side piece because that's what we do. We give you some news stories that are interesting, that are off the beaten path, that you will hopefully enjoy. And you actually help to pick us out. You help vet these stories by going through our feeds and telling us which stories are more engaging by liking, loving, hating, sharing. And yes, you saw the teaser graphic. It may not make much sense, but we'll get to that in just a moment. But there's 8 total stories to get to for this morning's broadcast. So to help us pick those stories, make sure you follow us on our feeds. We'll explain that in more detail around the 12-minute mark when we're done with all the headlines. Have more information about what we do in general right now. Don't do it right now. Let's get to the newscast first. But remember our website, which is thisisaconversationproject.com. 8 stories curated by me, of course, vetted by you. So let's get into them right now with a few hydration breaks. I'm still kind of getting over the things. So keeping the throat in shape, if you will. Appreciate all you who will appreciate that. Tennis great Serena Williams baptized as Jehovah Witness at Jehovah Witness Assembly. So tennis great Venus Williams, as the article says, is now a officially baptized Jehovah's Witness. Jehovah's Witnesses are considered as Christians and follow the Bible, as my notes say. They do not see Jesus Christ as the Almighty God, though. So that makes it a little bit interesting if following Christ is what you do, but they don't quite follow him along the ways of any. There are various variations of Christianity that make more sense than others here or there based on what you are. And she has decided to follow the faith of the Jehovah's Witness Assembly. She got baptized on Sunday in West Palm Beach, Florida. I actually raised a Jehovah's Witness, but never really put much into it. And so now, as an adult, as a 40-year-old with a child and a husband and things going on, she wants to focus more on the religion. One of the things that's interesting about Jehovah's Witnesses, and we're not going to joke about them knocking your doors, and no, Serena's not going to knock around and hand you pamphlets, but they do a lot of things that, like I said, they don't acknowledge Jesus as Almighty God. They also don't celebrate birthdays because they believe that this pleases God and that deaths are better than birth. They celebrate the afterlife. They don't celebrate the life as much. Does that mean less birthday bashes for Serena? We will see going forward. But right now, she has been baptized and will follow more of her faith as a Jehovah's Witness. I guess now that she's retired, she has more time for church. We'll just say that. Next story. This is the end. Windows 7 and 8, friends. Microsoft drops support this week. There have been a lot of killing in the Microsoft world, things going on. Of course, they killed the Microsoft Internet Explorer browser late-ish in the last year. They released a new Windows operating system, Windows 11, about a year and a half ago, and it's essentially forced people to get to it now because there's really no Windows 10 you can buy out there on the market. They are now killing the Windows 7 Extended Security Update and Windows 8 and 8.1 coming this month, and it will kill all support for those operating systems extremely soon. What does that mean? Well, if you bought a computer in the last 2-3 years, not very much. But if you're running a very old computer and complain about how slow it is, you're not going to get any much more performance out of it because they're giving up on the operating systems. In fact, if you're running some old computer, most of the people that are doing this are sort of businesses that have sort of one-trick pony type things running computers. It's just like ATM machines that still run Windows 3.11 in some old banks and stuff like that, because all it needs to do is basic functions. This is a thing where if it doesn't connect to the internet and doesn't have to update itself, no one's going to notice, no one's going to care. But as it starts getting slower and older, because the machines are probably older and the operating system that gets a little, lost in the brain, you're going to start seeing performance issues. The only fix is to buy a new computer. Period. You can't upgrade from 7 or 8. Period, because they're just killing the support for it. And of course, remember 9 is skipped, so essentially it's Windows 10 and Windows 11, the new operating system, and that's it. Unless you're a hacker and keep up what you got going on, it's time to buy that new computer. Pro-Trump entertainer Diamond of Diamond and Silk dies at 51. Teased this story yesterday, so let's go deeper into it. The pro-Trump entertainer, as she's being listed, died. Trump said Diamond's death was totally unexpected. A memorial fundraiser page for set up for a crowdfunding website, and a plea for prayers was made on Twitter, of course. The two women switched parties from Democrat to Republican to support Trump and attended his inauguration, emphasized their status as Black American women supporting the white Republican, which made a lot of Black people scratch their heads and white people wonder what's going on. Diamond and Silk parlayed their Trump world inclusion into contribution jobs at Fox News, but the relationship ended after Diamond and Silk brought into conspiracy theories about COVID-19 figures. Essentially, what brought down a lot of people who were riding high on the Trump stuff, and they started talking about COVID-19 and going into conspiracy stuff, and then people had to kind of push away. Not so much because they weren't entertaining and weren't bringing people in, but at some point, people who are spewing nonsense will get you in trouble just for them spewing nonsense. Fox did kill off a lot of, no pun intended, of the conspiracy series people in the midst of their COVID-19 coverage, mostly because most of what they're saying made no sense, wasn't confirmed, or basically flat out lies. The audience loved it. The people who actually run the things don't love it when things go wrong that way. Let's move on to the next story. Go into Australia. Australian Cardinal George Pell, acquitted of child sex abuse, dead at 81. Pretty sad story to pull from Australia. And this is a very one that actually the robot editor couldn't get much out of the story because it's pretty plain and simple. A former Archbishop of Melbourne in Sydney, he was convicted of molesting two choir boys at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Melbourne in the 1990s. His conviction was squashed by the Australian High Court in 2020. So for good or ill, based on how you feel about that. And Cardinal Pell had suffered a heart complications following hip surgery and had been living in Rome since he was acquitted in 2020. So quiet life, just sort of doing a lot like what Pope Benedict did, essentially living in semi-retirement, just sort of just surviving. And now he has passed at the age of 81. This case, for all practical purposes, is now officially closed. He is now will meet his ultimate accuser, if you will, and we'll wonder how that plays out. Disney rolling back unpopular theme park prices made under Chapek. Chapek, who was the president of Disney, who is no longer president of Disney because Bob Iger has come back to take over the job after retiring, figuring out his replacement was really, really bad, is seeing the Disney brands, as in the parks, are seeing a bit of levity in the prices that are there. Bob Chapek raised the prices of a lot of things at the theme parks, and Disney is reworking some of those unpopular theme park policies that will bring things down. The former parks executive, Bob Chapek, angered many Disney fans by jacking up prices and axing their free services at the company. For the theme parks, he was ousted, of course, in November, replaced by the other CEO, the old CEO, who's the new CEO again. In less than 3 years at Disney, the company mandated annual theme parks pass holders reserve the spot for them at the parks, but later eased that restriction. A lot of things happening there. So if you are a Disney lover and want to go back to Disney, the prices and the policies should be better for you very, very soon. Think Iger, not Chapek. CNN revamps daytime coverage with Newsroom headquarters concept. CNN plans to roll out a new on-air format that will put more of its real-time news gathering on full display during the daytime hours, says Chris Leith, CNN's chairman and CEO. During the election coverage last week, CNN superimposed its anchors over scenes of news, and the interplay between studio anchors and correspondents in the field was more pronounced and fluid. The executive offered few granular details about the plans for daytime. So when you're in third place, you do something to change what you're doing, and that's what they're doing. They saw a lot of stuff happening with election coverage, lots of happening with coverage over the debacle that is Congress of last week, and being able to go in and out on that free wheeling type stuff seemed to make a big difference. A lot of people were tuning in. A lot of people were tuning in mostly because of the debacle that is Congress, but they tuned in and paid attention, kept on going what was happening. So Mr. Litch believes that this may be the thing that will pull them out of the dumpster, get more eyeballs on the CNN. That's what they're going with. We'll see what happens when it's actually finalized into an official plan. But at the moment, it is just the concept of more newsroom in the newsroom. This actually worked out well in radio. We did things like this where we had the anchors sitting in the broadcast booth and it just kind of doing back and forth. And then we tossed the correspondents at various places. We used to have a big, vast, where I worked at a big, vast radio network went across the state where we could call up other affiliates, people working at their stations out in the middle of nowhere, it seemed like. But if something happened out there, we can call them up, get a few minutes with them, and go from there. If it was a football championship from one of the smaller schools, we can get someone to talk about things there. If there was something going on in the way of weather out in the middle of no place, someone in the middle of no place had to show up for work at the radio station, and they would give us a response. If it was a major thing happening in one of the university towns around, we can get somebody from the university there via the affiliates. This is what it looks like they're going to do. If I were, if I could have my resume to Mr. Litch, I would love to do something like this. This is what I'd love to be doing more of. If the button hit works. Fisher Price again announces recall of rock and play sleepers after at least 8 more deaths. There have been thousands of people who have died from these sleepers. In fact, they recalled 4.7 million of the rock and play sleepers after more deaths happened. This device, sleeper unit that you put your child in, had been on the market for a couple years, taken off and recalled right now. So it is officially illegal to sell these sleepers. If you can see the sleepers, check out the link for the story, check out the actual brand and actual model for this. And if you know someone with the sleeper, replace it with something immediately. If you see it on the shelves, call somebody because they're not supposed to be selling it. And the final story for this morning is this one. Hasbro threatened with class action lawsuit via petition for Dungeons and Dragons change. The Dungeons and Dragons is a popular tabletop game that's been played by fans and celebrities for decades. There's plenty of talk about this. It's big in the news. It's a big thing because it's an actual factor in one of the more popular shows on Netflix, which is Stranger Things. It's a part of the storyline, if you will, going forward. But there have been some changes to the rules, some changes to the way things work out by Hasbro, the new owner of Dungeons and Dragons. And they are saying because of that class action lawsuit by the folks are coming to petition some of the changes that are there. This may not be one of the most interesting stories going on, but you guys thought it was interesting enough. You guys voted it up pretty high, so we're bringing it right here. If you're a Dungeons and Dragons fan, or if you're a foe of the game, thinking that it is evil and demonic, you may want to check out the link on this one and see what's going on deeper in the business side of Hasbro's Dungeons and Dragons. Let me note that Hasbro's Dungeons and Dragons, they are the official owner of the game at this point. Let's do some teasing. This one's an interesting story. So let's think about this for a second. The House Republicans, because they didn't want to vote for Kevin McCarthy, threw up a bunch of different names for people, alternate folks to be Speaker of the House. One person, which ironically is I can't read it from the thing. Let me blow this up so I can actually read it. I'm sorry about that. One person was Byron Donalds, the Republican from Florida, a new Republican from Florida who got a nomination, but of course wasn't going to win. But they get in the record as being, for the first time ever, 2 black people from both parties being nominated for a chance to get Speaker. One of them, Hakeem Jeffries, wasn't going to get it because he didn't have the votes. The other one, Mr. Donald, wasn't going to get it because Kevin McCarthy was going to be Speaker after a whole lot of horse trading. Hydration break for a moment. Mr. Donalds was on Joy Reid's show on MSNBC, and as the headline reads, Joy Reid asked Black Republican if he was nominated for Speaker as GOP diversity statement. Do you want to talk about this as a diversity statement, or just saying that she's being, basically racist, as people are, I guess, accused Joy Reid of? Is she the aggressor, or is Donald's actually out there just basically a token? This is one I'd love to talk to you about. If you want to talk to me about it more, it's very simple, very easy to do. All you have to do is go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. They're very simple. You just go to facebook.com/This Is Conversation Project and twitter.com/th_conversation. When you get there, you'll see stories like this. Every 50 minutes, we post a new story. Like it, love it, hate it, share it. Give it a engagement, and the more engagement you get, the higher chance we get to talk about it. As you said earlier, you vet these by making them engaging. There's telling me they're engaging. I'll take the top 15 stories from the past 30 hours. And then I will vet them down into 8 stories. Is this one of the stories we're talking about? You put in the range and we'll probably get it in there. Now, let's talk about funds or fun and funds. The funds part is our sponsor link. Go to thisisaconversationproject.com/sponsors and check out any of our big headline sponsors. Today's sponsor is the chess store. The fun part, chess. Always fun. My daughter got into chess about 4 years ago, I believe. We have a chess club that's run by a very great lady at our church, and she brings in all sorts of people from all over the city just to our little bitty old chess club. Chess masters from across the state, chess masters from all over the place. In fact, Arkansas's newest chess master, youngest chess master, is a birthed, if you will, out of this chess club. So we may not be able to birth you a chess master, but we can get you a great chess set to play with. Go to the chess store and see what they have. Great wooden sets, great metal sets, reproductions of classic chess boards, and of course, great travel sets that aren't cheesy and chintzy. They're nice and beautiful, and you'll love to pull them out and play out in public. Go to thisisaconversationproject.com/the chess store. Thisisaconversationproject.com/the chess store, and check them out today. This is an affiliate link, so that's where the cash parts come. We get a little bit of a cut from what you buy there, but it costs you nothing extra, and you can get very beautiful sets from the chess store. Now, from the chess store to the Conversation Project. This is the Conversation Project is our website, our home, the place that we lives on the internet. As I said, we have various ways to interact with you for this thing here, which comes out as an audio podcast, comes out as a newsletter with links that you can go straight to as well. We have other podcasts and things that are created, including the weekly wrap up and the conversations. I keep changing the name of that on the fly, but it's the conversations, basically, things like that, plus other things that we have in the background that are easy for you to help out, including going to our sponsors page. Knew that was coming. And if you think that we are offering you something that is a great value, you can go to our partnership page and we can directly connect and see if there's ways we can work well together. Find all that at our main website, the whole hub of it all, at thisisaconversationproject.com. So now forward to today things, the fun things that sort of wrap things up here on the conversation. After the headlines, we do the funner stuff, the birthdays and the fact going on the day, and the day we celebrate our appreciation day. Give much appreciation to these three ladies today, starting off with Kim Coles from Living Single and The Facts of Life, and a little bit of Different Strokes as well, and a singer as well. You may not remember her Dear Michael track from way back in the day. 61 years old on the day. Mary J. Blige, very much a singer, very much an actress, winning big awards at this point. And if everybody's having a party at Super Bowl and she wants to sing breakup songs, you know what? Mary J., you can do what you want to do. 52 years old on this day, January 11th. And Amanda Peet, who I don't think has made very much in the world of music, but still, pretty gosh darn actress, 51 years old on the day. What are we celebrating today? Hot Toddy Day. Why? Because the other days listed in our listing were fake days or did not actually have a date assigned to them, or the date wasn't actually January the 11th. I don't know how we got the confusion, but this is one of a list of about 8 things that actually was something that made sense, wasn't totally weird, and gave us something to talk about. A hot toddy. Do you want to talk about hot toddy, or you just want to down a couple hot toddies on your own? So celebrate January 11th with a warm drink that might have a little bit of extra punch to it, but make sure the kids don't get into it because that could get you in trouble. Get your hot toddies today. Although it's not hot toddy weather, at least not here, southern parts, but there might be some snowy parts up north that still may need some. You can celebrate your hot toddy responsibly if you're of age, whenever you want to, I guess. But today is designated, so go forth and hot toddy. Now, one more thing you might not have heard before we go out the door. A survey by S.C. Johnson, of course, asks what people are doing in the shower besides getting clean, because there's the reason to be there, and there's the things you do since you're there. Among the 67% who typically engage in their other activities while bathing, 64% daydream, 34% talk to themselves, 17% brush their teeth. It's multitasking. 11% dance. Oh, okay. 3% clean a pet. we're just going to move on from there. More than 2 in 5, that's about 44%, admit to having peeked around the bathroom when visiting someone else's home, most commonly looking inside the medicine cabinet or the drawers. That's 28% on those. About 1 in 5, which is about 20%, 19% on the survey, admits to peeking behind the shower curtain, which I've never had a curiosity to peek behind someone's shower curtain, but I guess I'm not in that 19%. So, what do you do in the shower other than shower? Keep it clean, pun intended, and let us know in the comments what your shower activities or extracurricular activities may be. And with that, we're done with the extracurriculars, and we're just moving on with our day, Wednesday, January the 11th, 2023. Sorry for being a bit late, folks. Sorry for running a little behind. We are having some issues between some technical stuff and some health stuff. I'm still fighting a little thing here, but we're glad to produce for you this thing here as it is. If you're enjoying the changes that we've put into it, let me know in the comments. If you're not enjoying some changes, let me know in the comments. We think we're doing a much better job with the readings and the scripts as it comes along. It is a bit cumbersome sometimes, and it's sometimes hard to read some things. But other than that, we thank you for sticking with us all along the way. Of course, we want you to stay hydrated. With the mic in the shot now, it's hard to put that into place. Stay limber and stay on task for all the grand things that you are here to do. You've been tasked by divine intervention, whether you want to say it or not, to be a big part of this world. And so there you go. Be a big part of this world and do what you want to do. Christina with a K, my beautiful wife, listens to audiobooks in the shower, but the audiobook is not, of course, in the shower. It's, on the counter, obviously. That's one thing. Audiobooks was not on the list because reading is that most people might think books. We're done. Let's get out of here. I thank you so much for being a part of this show for today, whether you watched it live, listened to the broadcast and report or on the recording via Face or via the audio with podcast. We're going to do this again tomorrow.